Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing great this evening and thrilled that you're with us. This is the OPA monthly call. And OPA, for those of you who might not know, was started by Mary and Gary Loomis many years ago. They wanted to come up with a name so that over a period of time when many other businesses would come into it, it would be something, a name that could encompass everybody. And talk about forward thinking, because here we are, and many years later, and we're all still OPA, and that fits beautifully. So Mary was an exceptional leader, and in my opinion, the best communicator I think I probably have ever known. And so she's left us a great legacy along with the Shackley legacy. I see Donna agrees with me on that about Mary. I think most of us who have known her would feel that way for sure. So we're very excited tonight because we have Marcia Jackson, new master coordinator. Yay! Everybody give a good applause. And Marcia was just with us actually in Hawaii. In fact, she just got home a few hours ago from Hawaii. They stayed a little bit longer, I think, to celebrate their new masterhood. And we're so glad that she's agreed to be with us tonight. And the little bit I've gotten to chat with her, I already know I can't wait to get to know her more. She's really lovely and bubbly and full of enthusiasm. It's a really neat gal. So I'm sure you're going to really enjoy her tonight. She is a second generation Shackley person, but I'll let her tell you all that as part of her story. She has 3 children. And every time I talk to her, I find something else out about her. So she's an author, and part of the talk tonight will be telling you about what she has developed, her theory, what's been working for her, and why she compiled that into a book that anybody could get to use. So I think that's really exciting. And let me see if there was one other thing I think I wanted to tell you about her. Her goal is to help total wellness for everybody, which I love. And you just wait till you hear her whole story. I mean, it's really a cool story, and she's really a neat lady, and we're going to learn a lot tonight. So I hope everybody has their notebooks like I do and your pen and paper ready, because you just never know those gems that just might be the very thing that makes a difference for you in your life and in your business. So with that in mind, would you like to tell us your story, Marcia? Let's begin with that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Like Hannah said, I'm a second generation Shackley. Any of you that know Bob and Jan Bird, they are my parents. And my mom literally rolled out of a sick bed into a business. So I grew up with the company. I've been on the products ever since I was a baby. So I had great health. And, I always saw, back then you had to have the big store with the thousands and thousands of dollars worth of products, and you would ship everything, and they would constantly have people over, and they loved it and they did very well at it. But I just couldn't see myself doing that. I just didn't see, because how during a period of the 80s, I would have to say, and sometimes in the 90s, network marketing really got a bad rap because there was a lot of companies that did it badly, and they scammed a lot of people. So, I'm hearing from this and that, and I got a lot of negative feedback. And I didn't, growing up with something, you kind of take for granted what is there. So growing up with Shackley, I never realized what great health I had and how I had all these great products until I started using other products. And then I realized how good they were, and kind of veered away from it, developed some health issues, some allergies and things like that, and got back on the products and really saw the change in my own health. So that was a beginning for me. And then when I became pregnant with my first child, I was working in retail. I liked it. Didn't like the hours though, and I wanted to be home with my kids. So I asked Mom, I said, what do I need to do part-time, just enough to make $1,000 a month to stay home? So that's what I did. I did that for years and years and was able to be home with my kids, be out because I love people. I'm busy. I like to be busy. And I have as you get to know me, you'll see I have my hands in a lot of hats. There's a lot of other things I'd like to be doing, and eventually that'll come to fruition. I believe it's a journey, and, there's things that come our way, and sometimes we have to grab a hold of them and do them in that moment in order to take us to that further destination. Shackley's a huge part of that destination to get me where I want to go. And I would have to say probably the revelation to really get involved in the business came about 2.5 years ago, because I did it as a hobby. I loved it, it filled my needs of income, of business, getting out with people, because I had 3 young ones. So it kind of fulfilled all that, as I was working it and doing it as a hobby. It was more of a hobby. I talked to people when it was convenient. I talked with I focused more on the makeup and skincare line, doing the facials and that area. And again, I loved it. So, as I started doing some self-development and started looking at, getting ready to get close to 50, I was appearing to that age. And, as we kind of go into those new, tens, I'll call them, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, each time period brings new thought and anticipation of kind of, what am I doing with my life? Am I where I want to be? And I really try to do that on a yearly basis to kind of see where I'm at. So I began to do that, and I was jogging one morning, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, why am I not building a Shackley business? It's got these awesome products. I love the products. I love the people. I need to look further into this, and understand, when I did it as a hobby, I never really introduced people to the business part because I didn't really understand network marketing. I just heard a lot of bad things. And when you would tell somebody that you were in network marketing or multi-level marketing, they'd be like, oh, you're one of those. And they would kind of veer and go the other way. So it left a bad taste in my mouth at that time because I didn't understand it. So at that time, I called Dan Williams, who's, we're third, I believe we're third or fourth level to him. And he's our first master. So I called him and I said, all right, Dan, I really want to look further into this company and into the business, because my parents they've been semi-retired for years. Love talking with people, but not pursuing it as a business in the new way. And those of you that have been with Shackley a long time understand what I mean by that. They did everything. They still had done everything old school until I started to step in and start doing the business. Got rid of the inventory, got rid of the shipping out of the home, got rid of the 800 number. You don't need all that anymore. So the ease of doing business was attractive because I didn't have to do all that anymore. And when you're talking to that younger generation, that's the same thing. It's the ease of doing business. I was on our Monday night call with some of our builders and people in our group. And I said, it's when you look at the new generations coming up, they want to enjoy life while they build. They don't want to have to work really hard for 5 or 10 years and put life on hold. That just doesn't work. That doesn't appeal to me. I want to be able to travel. My husband was able to retire from, he's been in police and in that sort of work for the past 34 years. So he was actually able to retire because our business had afforded us to be able to do that. So he retired last year on his 55th birthday. And I told him, I says, when you retire, we're going to start traveling. So I said, eventually my goal is to travel somewhere new every month. So Shackley will make that possible because you can work from anywhere. You know, you take your laptop, you've got internet, you take even your phone. And that's going to appeal to a lot of people. I'm actually talking with a lady in Florida I met on a trip in Florida, at one of the resorts that we, have bought into. And I talked to her, she got started on the products. And as we kind of talked a little bit more, she's like, she wants to travel more, but she's a nurse, so she don't have time. And so I said, well, you know what? They're going down in April. I says, we're going to come down for a few days and we're going to talk a little bit. I want to, have you explore. And she says, well, I'm no good at sales. I says, let's put that aside. We'll talk. So we're going to meet with them next month and talk with them a little bit more about that. So I'm believing that she's going to come on board because she's going to want to do what I'm doing. So that's kind of the venue that I'm pursuing, because I travel as I'm traveling and talking with people who wouldn't want to travel, have their travel paid for, and work.
Right.
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 Anybody
So how do you start those conversations, Marcia? A lot of people feel like they want to talk to people, but they don't know just what to say.
Most of it, and I'm gonna take that to. I'm going to take one step back, and how that started is when I went to Dan, and I will address that question, is he got me involved with Richard Blissbrook. He had a 90-day run to momentum. He says, if you're ready to get started, we went through the business and everything. And I said, yes. I says, I need to do this because it has everything I want. So I had to invest some money, that was a little hard, but I put it on my card. And my first goal was to have that paid for within 3 months. And I did, and then some. And what I really learned is just being authentic, being you, letting people see who you are and what your own dreams and desires are. Because I was just talking with our group about this just a couple hours ago. I said, so many times we think everything has to be perfect and we have to have this perfect life, that everybody sees, that everybody wants. In all honesty, I don't believe that's true. A lot of people need to see the journey of where you want to go, and sometimes the struggles that you go through to get there. And that, yeah, there are problems that you're going to run across, and there are going to be negative people, and there's going to be, but just be you. Enjoy the journey. And so he taught me how to do that. The first thing he had said, he says, for this 90-day run to momentum, he says, you're going to have to invite one new person every day to take a look at your business. I had never done that.
New thinking, right?
So I said, well, I already paid my money. I'm already invested. I'm going to do it. So he gave us some scripts and some ideas, and I practiced and put them on 3x5 cards, and I was horrible. But I did it. I invited somebody every single day, knowing that it was okay. They said, all I needed was a yes or a no. That's all I needed. So I did it. And I did it with the intention to learn and become better at what I was doing. And so when I realized that, as you were saying, how do you kind of approach that and talking with people? Well, I generally, we look for those areas. I can't remember the acronym off the top of my head. I haven't slept in probably 36 hours. So if I don't remember everything, bear with me. After this, I'm going right to bed.
Because you have to get up at 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. They don't know about that.
I'm still young. I'll take my Shaklee and my energy chews and I'll be fine. But when we were down there, we were just sitting there talking, and they were strolling by, and we, just started talking about the beautiful weather and what they were up to there, and just starting conversation with people and genuinely getting to know them. And, we hit it off and had a lot in common and just talked about lots of different things. And then she got talking about something, I don't even remember how we got on the subject of protein or this and that. And I said, well, what do you use? And she was telling me, and I said, well, I've been using this one protein, this new protein from Shackley. And I said, oh my gosh, it's amazing. The chocolate's amazing. I love the chocolate. She goes, really? And I said, would you like me to send you a sample? And she goes, yeah, I'd love that. So that's what I did. That's how it started. So I sent her a sample, and I did my one-on-one presentation on video so that I can pre-send it. I did it so it's only 27 minutes. And what I do is that does a lot of the legwork for me. And so if somebody's interested, I send them the meology, and I usually just send them that video. I tell them, say, hey, take a look at this. Let's talk. And I set a time, and we talk and we discuss it and we go over it.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I do is whenever I'm looking in a store, or like we were in Hawaii and went down on Front Street in, I can't even remember the city, but they had a lot of art galleries. So we were just in looking at all the art, beautiful. And one of the gals, we got talking, and she was telling us about the artist, and she's like, I'd like to follow up with you. And I said, okay. I said, you know what, here, I said, here's a business card. So, and she said, wellness. And she says, what do you do? And I said, well, I teach people how to be their best selves, physically, mentally, and financially. And she looks at me and she goes, I need you. So some people immediately gravitate towards that and others do not. And if they don't, like we were on a tour, we went on the road to Hana. We met one couple, found out they had a gym, and I just very bluntly asked him, I says, are you always looking for new ways of improving, your own health and looking for ways to do that? And he says, well, yeah, absolutely. And I said, I would love to send you our company's product line for you to take a look at. And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. Again, I don't know if anything, but it takes me 5 or 10 minutes to send an email. Who knows?
Right.
And then another couple, the conversation of Shackley never came up. We could exchange phone numbers, and we're on Facebook together. So if the door doesn't open organically for me to talk Shackley with them, then I look for a way to connect with them so that it can come further down the road.
Okay, so how often would you say you're getting into conversations like that?
Every
Is
day.
that an everyday thing that you do?
Yeah, when I'm out and about, I look for those conversations with people and just start asking questions. I'm not always out every day, and if I'm not out every day, then I look for that on Facebook or on some other type of platform, or I will call somebody. I still strive to do that one invite a day in some capacity with somebody, because if I can do that, I'm going to be at that top percentile people. Because before, I was lucky if I talked to one new person every 3 months. Isn't that usually how it goes when somebody comes in new and they want a quote unquote business?
Right.
They'll talk to one person every 3 months.
I think that's going to do it, huh?
That was me.
But isn't it great, though, that you found your way, and your growth really has shown that what you're doing is working, obviously.
Yeah. Eric War, GoPro, the 7, I've got the book over there, Things with Network Marketing, excellent book.
Mhm.
Excellent. It really opened my eyes to the different levels that people come in to network marketing, so that I could get a better sorting process, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to waste a lot of time with certain people. You want to focus your attention on those 20% of people that are going to be your top producers.
And, it's interesting when you say that, finding the people and choosing the right ones to work with, because how many people are so excited if they get somebody that says yes, whether the person does anything or not, they're just excited. They said they want it, so they keep that energy going to try and get that person to come aboard when maybe the person just isn't ready. They're just not going to do anything. And by that time, they could have had 10 other people who were ready. So
Yes. Yeah. It
Right.
doesn't mean I forget about them, but I keep them in the back burner and I feed them things and, stay in touch,
Mhm.
within a reasonable time span, but nothing that's going to consume my time. Quick text or quick phone call doesn't take long.
So follow up, would you say, is one of your good keys of
Yeah.
getting, building this relationship?
Yeah. Follow up is key. There's actually a gal that is in our group that is casually building. She's a sweet gal. I think it'll turn into more than that because she seems to get more involved. It took 6 months of me connecting with her to get her started on product.
Mm.
But once she got started, she's sold. She loves the product. She's changing over brands and now she's a distributor. Now she's sharing it with people.
I think that's an important thing for people to realize. Sometimes it takes those 7 touches
Yes.
before somebody really is part of your,
Yeah. Yeah.
your
And then
company.
some people, my goodness, I wish I'd find more of those. Like the one gal, she's like, I need you. That happened at a church that we went and visited with and got talking with a lady and she was excited. We met for lunch. She got started right away, got like 6 or 7 people started on it. If I could find one of those a month.
Well, we have to just know they're going to be there, right? If we talk
Yeah.
to enough
Yeah.
people, we know we're going to find them.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. So at some point during this process, you started to develop a system of things that you would do daily, and then that led you to your book. So do you want to start telling a little bit more about those things you were sharing with me, the 3 questions and the 3 points that you do for everybody?
So one of the things that, and with anything new, and I liken that to like a job. When somebody starts a new job, they're not comfortable with it. It's a little scary, like with me doing an invite every day. But as you do it and you practice it, you get better. And then usually 6 months to a year later, it's more comfortable.
Hmm.
So, and again, perfection isn't the key here. It's about actually stepping out and doing it. That's like I can do the best workout that I could do on a daily basis that would help me be the most physically fit. But if I don't step out and start doing it, nothing's going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They get stuck in that mentality. Well, I have to have all my I's dotted, all my T's crossed. Whereas if they would just start doing a little bit, they would grow and learn from it. At least that's been my experience.
Hmm.
So what I did is when I in anything that I started to do, I started to, so when I would do my invite, I'll just use that as an example. When I would do my invite, I would step back after and I'd say, okay, what did I do well? So now I'm just kind of reflecting on what I did.
Hmm.
What did I do well? And then to reset, I was telling Hannah, it's the R method that I kind of came up with myself. So I reflected on it. What could I do better? So then I would reset my mindset to how I would do that better and I would do it better. And now the next time I would do it, I would redo that step. So like if I'm talking to somebody and did an invite and was didn't ask enough questions about them or their employment, then I would say, okay, the next time I need to maybe do that first. I need to start asking them a few more questions to see where their interest would lie. And so then when I would make a note of that, and then when I would talk to the next person, I would have a few questions in mind to ask them. Well, how long have you been doing this? Well, is this the only thing you do? That kind of thing.
Hmm.
Just kind of finding out. And then I would just reset that and redo it. And I would just do that every single time, anytime I would do something. So I got thinking about it and I said, I think a lot of times people I read a lot, but not everybody. What do you hear a lot of times when you talk with people? They say, I don't have a lot of time to read, and to try to find different things from all over can be a little overwhelming.
Hmm.
So I thought about some of the main things that have helped me overcome different issues. Like one of them, I actually learned from Mel Robbins, who we at Shacklett had as a speaker, and her 5-second rule.
Mhm.
And she talks about one of the things on, I think it was on her TED Talks that she talked about was she would be very fearful and she would be afraid to do certain things. And that fear would overcome her and it would turn into an anxiety. And how many times do you talk to people? They're so fearful of making the phone calls, right? What are they going
Yeah,
to
right.
say? You know, what if they say no? Well, what if you're not going to know if you don't call? So what I learned from her is whenever I'm fearful, I would change that and I would say, no, I'm excited. I am excited to call this person to find out. And I would change what I would say because the same feeling of being fearful is the same feeling of being excited. And that holds true.
Hmm.
And when we went on the road to Hana, and I've done this in many things, not just my Shakti business, but in life in general, we had the opportunity to jump off like a, I don't know, 30 or 50-foot cliff into a big water, like a waterfall. It was a waterfall. So my first thought is, okay, this is a little scary because I'm scared of heights. And I said, no, I am excited to do this. How many people get to do this? So I did it.
That's great. That's great.
So
So
in
you've,
those types of circumstances, we all have those fears. We all get that anxiety. And so if we can change our thought pattern to that, you will find you will be able to do those things that you thought you couldn't do.
that's great. I mean, turning fear into excitement is really what it's all about.
Yes,
And, everything is a mindset. Don't you find that? So when you
yes,
start looking at things that you can get excited about, then the fears start to diminish. If you allow the fears to come in, then the excitement might just not measure up to that. So it's really good,
yes,
good thinking to do that.
yeah.
And
So
yeah, go ahead.
what I did is, as I got thinking about my own our method of reflecting, resetting, and redoing everything, I said, why don't I kind of comprise something simple? And what it is, it's basically a little simple meditation. It's called Life Without Limits. I don't know if you can see that, but it is on Amazon. It's by M.K. Jackson. Um, And what I did is so many times people, I think mentality is the first hurdle that people have to overcome. They get excited about what Shacklett has to offer, about anything, but then they start thinking about it and they're like, oh, I don't know if I could do that.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do something to help people to put things into practice immediately. Because if you can start to do something immediately and see results immediately, then people will tend to go a lot further. So within the book, I did a 31-day meditation. So I took, and for each day, I did a little write up a meditation on something. So some of them are like motivation, anxiety, habits, self-talk, doubt, purpose, vision, thought processes, just things that I had learned that had been really helpful. And literally you can do one chapter a day, one chapter in 5 minutes. Okay. It's basically a little short reading, and then there's actually action steps. So in the next page, it says, this is what you need to do. How do you put that into practice? So that's why I did that, because it would kind of help get people moving in the right direction. 5 minutes a day. Come on. Strip and shake, 5 minutes a day. Read a
Right.
simple devotional, 5 minutes a day. Get started doing something. And then when they see the results, they'll want to continue and learn a little bit more. So I am writing another book that's going to be a little bit more lengthier and lots of struggles. And I'm not quite sure what the title is going to be, but it's kind of an impact of thought processes. And I'm very big. I've studied under John Maxwell for many years, and I love that aspect of thought and mindset.
Yeah, and really, this business, we've always said, is not about what's around us. in terms of where the people are going to come from or what kind of people we're going to find. This business is all right up here.
Yeah.
And the more that we have our head in the right direction, the more we attract those right people. The more that we give ourselves that bad self-talk or things like you said, the fears build up. The more we do that, then we are really setting up resistance and we're not attracting
Yeah.
what we really
Yeah.
want to have. So
Yeah.
it sounds like you're really not just become a master coordinator, but you're mastering that technique as well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So
So
go ahead.
just kind of veering back with people in their thought process is starting to, like, with their vision. We know vision's really important. We know the self-development. It really takes some time to do that. And one of the things is I'm talking with people, and it's a journey. We all know that as we continue on the journey, we change. And so therefore, goals change, vision change, and, we reach some of those goals. So now we got to have new goals. And it's just kind of a method to be able to do that, to look at all of life.
Mm-hmm. That's good, for sure. I think that the more we get used to setting goals, well, first of all, we find that I think that's one of the greatest things you can offer your children is if they
Yeah.
see you and they learn how to set goals, what a difference it's going to make in their lives going forward.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to people at times that said, I've never set a goal in my life. I don't know how you do that. And yet we know that that's really a key, isn't it? Because it has to start with the goal before you can have the plan, before you can have the action.
Yes. Yeah. And consistency, being focused and consistent. And I was talking with somebody, and it seemed like I was asking that person, every day, and I was following up with people. I was doing all the right things, but sometimes it doesn't seem like anything's happening. But you continue to enjoy the journey and enjoy the process as you go through, and I become better. And so it'll pay off, because if I just continue to plant those seeds, they'll come to fruition and something will happen.
So true. And the better we get, the more we attract. And, it becomes a wonderful cycle as we learn to do that. So if we can go back to when you're talking to people, because I'm loving a lot of the things you were talking about, that with the kind of conversations you have. So do you find that when you're talking to people, the more questions you ask, how that relates to the results you get?
Yeah, and definitely finding out about them, because if I don't know about them, I can't really because we're looking to help people with solutions. We're trying to help people find solutions to what they're having a problem with.
Right.
That's why we all got involved in Shackley, solutions to our health, solutions to financial means. There's a lady, she's constantly dealing with daycare. And so she's a teacher, and I'm just like, just look at the business. She's a friend. I'm like, just look at the business. This could offer so much more. So I got to connect with her tomorrow again.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So when somebody isn't saying yes the first time, you do go back and keep
Oh,
creating touches until you either say no or until you get them involved. Is that
yes,
correct?
yes. But I do it in a nice way. One of the things,
Sure.
I was talking with Richard Blissbrook, and one of the questions is, because you asked them, about being involved in the business. I'm going to give you an example. There's a old friend of mine. We've connected. We text back and forth sometimes. She's not on Facebook, so it kind of limits me, because I asked her. So I always try to look for avenues that would be of interest. So I knew that she was exercising in health. So I said, hey, would you like to join our Facebook group? We're having what was it? 6-week healthy challenge. She says, I'm not on Facebook. And that's when I learned she wasn't on Facebook. So I look for avenues to invite people to be a part of something, or if something new's come along, that I think might interest them. So I just messaged her and said, I thought this might interest you if you want to join us and come on and take a look. And then she said, I'm not on Facebook. And I said, you know what? I said, that's okay. I says, I'll shoot over something now and again for you. On it, weekly, I'll just shoot something over quick. So one was like a positive affirmation. How do you do affirmations? Another one was, how do you determine how much protein do you need? Just adding value to what I was sending her,
Mm-hmm.
to
Such a
help
good
her
idea.
to strive for that. And so she loved it. And then I had asked her about, because she loves to travel, like me. And I said, would you be willing to take a look at something that it may or may not interest you? I says, but would you be, just take a look at a 12-minute video. So I sent over a short video, and she's like, she sent me back, and she says, I'm not really interested in pursuing a business at this time. It's just not really what I want to do. And so I responded back to her. I says, I respect, your decision. I said, I understand. It's all about timing and where you're at in life. I says, not a problem. I said, but are you okay with me just continuing to send you different things on, what's available and what I think might interest you? I always ask permission,
Mm-hmm.
to send something to them. And I said, I know you work out and you love the protein I sent you. Do you want me to keep you in the loop on specials that come along? And so she was like, yes. I said, okay. I said, I'll do that for you. I'll shoot you things now and again. So that's what I do,
Mm-hmm.
to
So
just
you commit, so you come, as I see it, you're coming in many different directions with the
yeah,
same person, but finding what's going to be their hot button or what's
yeah,
going to suit their needs where they are right now, even if it isn't Shackley just yet. You're keeping that door open and widening the door as you go along.
yes,
That's
yes.
great. Yeah.
I'm very persistent.
Well, that's great. Persistence without pushing is great.
Yes. And I
So
want to do
that's
it I want to do it so that if they see me somewhere, they're not running the other direction.
right. That's exactly it. I love the fact that that's one of the beauties of Shackley. We've never been known for being a pushy company.
Mhm.
We've never
Yeah.
been known for uh, getting somebody to do things they really aren't wanting to do, but rather than offering and letting them make the decision based
Yeah.
on the facts that we can present to them. So I think those are the people who stay happiest and come to us more likely to be with us and to grow. So that's great. And I like when you were talking too about the questions because we took a training years ago, and one of the things that this woman taught us is keep thinking of it as peeling back the layers of an onion.
Mhm.
And the more questions you ask, the closer you're getting to what really is important to them. Because they could listen to Shackley all day and all the great benefits and all the great trips and the perks and the income and everything else. But if they haven't connected the dots of how it's going to affect them and how it's going to benefit them, they say, oh, that's really great. And then you say, but are you interested in going forward? And I said, well, I don't think this is for me, or I'm only a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. And that's why, because somehow or other there's not been a connection. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you've recognized that and keep working to make that connection so it gets to a more likely point that they will join you.
Yep. And
Is
I'm
that
I'm
correct?
learning. It takes a lot of practice to learn to ask the questions, and again, that's when I kind of step back and reflect on that and say, okay, what could I have done better? What did I do well, but what could I have done better? We always want to give ourselves, acclamations and affirmations on what we are doing well.
Absolutely, because otherwise, if all we do is look at what we did wrong,
Yeah.
we'll be paralyzed to move forward. So
Yes.
that's right. So how can I improve, but at the same time, give yourself that credit, pat yourself on the
Yeah.
back for the right things. Yeah, that's terrific. It's
Yeah.
terrific. So again, you said the name of the book is Life Without Limits,
Yeah.
and you can go on Amazon and get
Yeah.
that by M.K. Jackson,
Yeah.
right?
And I made it so it was I think it's 9.95 or 9.99. I can't remember.
Okay,
Because
great.
I am the type of person that if I find a book I like, I buy a lot of them and I give them away. but it has to be in that $10 range.
Mhm. Well, that makes sense.
So I tried to stick to that to my own.
So do you use that as a recruiting tool or only once you have a builder? Do they
I
get
use
that?
it in all aspects, all aspects. It kind of gives me an open door too to talk with people
Mhm.
because we're in wellness, and part of our wellness is helping people to be their best selves. So that goes with being mental and physical go hand in hand,
Right.
and I know you find that there's more that comes involved in that the more you talk to people, because some people will tell you their whole life story, and that's usually what I find.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and that means you're doing a lot right because when people just open up to you and tell you everything about their life, that means that they've been attracted, that they can trust you, and that you really genuinely care about them. So I
yeah.
think that's a good thing. We just have to try and sometimes control how much somebody talks, but
Yes.
at the same time, it means you're on that right track of getting that trust going.
Yes, that is very true. So you could use it as a tool, as talk, say, hey, I've been reading this book and I'm a wellness educator, and I'm really striving to help people both in their physical and mental well-being. And I have found that with my business, this has really been helping people. I'm part of the equation. This is part of what we do,
Hmm.
because it is personal development is a huge part of what we do.
Well, presidential master coordinator Gary Burke, whom I loved and thought he was
Mm,
absolutely brilliant with all of his messages that he taught us all. And one of the things he always said was, work harder on your head than any other aspect of your business.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
I was just telling our group earlier, I said, I remember as a kid, I was younger, and Gary and Faye Burke, and I can't remember, this is quite a number of years ago. Years ago. Wasn't really involved in the business, but I was just on the trip.
mhm.
And I remember being in a boat out on the ocean or something, doing something. And Gary, struck up a conversation with one of the guys that were working on the boat, and just very casually talking back and forth, and just very organically went in and started talking about Shackley. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, what is he doing? He's on vacation. Well, now I
Sometimes,
understand. Now I
right,
understand.
right. When we develop the real passion for this business, that's not work. It's just we feel
No.
like we've got to let people know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrific, terrific. And the more we do, the more passion we create.
Yeah.
Right. Terrific.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, this is terrific. I think what we ought to do is open up because there may be some people are wanting to ask you some very important questions. So why don't, Scott, can we do that? Open up and let people decide to ask something if they would like. And
The
I
easiest
know,
thing would be just for each person that wants to talk, hold their space
okay,
bar down while they're talking.
okay. All right. Anybody have a question for Marcia? Tammy?
I heard she just made master coordinator. Is that correct? Um,
Right.
I know it's different for everybody, but I was just curious how long that took once she got serious.
Well, that took probably, well, my parents were already keys. They were key coordinator. So to be master, we had to bring 2 more first levels in and then increase our volume a little bit more. So it took a good 2 years,
And
to,
that was the time, including the time you were finally getting to know the business from a real business standpoint.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes some time, especially if you're not familiar with network marketing. And again, I really believe that the more we do it and just the more we put it into practice and pursue the growth for ourselves, we'll just get better and better. My odds are I want 100%, but we all know that's not going to happen.
Right.
The apple has to be ripe for picking.
Right. Thanks, Tammy. Does that answer your question? Great. Anybody else?
Well, aloha, Marcia. This is Carolyn.
Hi there, Carolyn.
See what I have here?
I do.
I got a special copy. It actually got back to my room. Thank you so much. I was so fortunate because I get to sit with you guys on our first dinner and have a chance to visit and meet you. I'm trying to figure out, get this video messed up here. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and Rick and to
Oh, you're freezing, Carolyn.
more of it. So you do want to picked up on who we are and who we have been.
Yeah.
And so thanks for all you're doing.
Yeah. And I will say the more I started to learn about, because again, growing up with the company, you don't really understand it or know who Dr. Shackley was. And I actually got my hands on his story and it went through from the beginning. And I read that and I was just amazed.
It is amazing, isn't it, to think of this man that long ago, having the head he did, the philosophy, the integrity, and what legacy's left us has been amazing. So good for you going back and doing that research.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can, Donna.
Okay. You know, for those of us that know, from key to masters, not just jumping over a stepping stone. That's huge. Not only that, that you had to bring your Shackley leadership to a level of understanding to people who have been with your parents for a long time, and know that you were there for them and moving forward. I appreciate what you've done. And I want to know if there's any little tidbits that you can say how you encouraged your team, because it maybe started with your mom and dad, to just grow and become more than they had done for a long time.
Well, for me, what I did is I actually contacted the different people down in our organization, through different means, if that's kind of what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. And
it's not an easy thing to do because they're set in their ways. They've been with your mom. They're used to the storefront. They're used to doing things in a way that you're trying to take them into a new way of thinking and understanding. And I respect what you have done because that's not as simple as it sounded from you.
Well, my hopes are that the different people that are in the organization, that one of their kids will take interest and come in as a second generation. And we actually, I don't know if any of you knew Norma and Bob Phillips were in our group. Well, Norma just passed away recently and her kids are going to take over the business. So we get the privilege of being able to begin to walk them through the steps of coming into this business, and because theirs was a brick and mortar business.
Okay.
So we are actually in the process of changing that. We're going through the process of changing that over into the new way of doing it and helping them to now run that business in the new fashion, which they're excited about. Mm-hmm. So hoping that as we build a relationship with them, that they will start growing. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. So just kind of making connections to see where they are. There are some people in our downline that are happy where they're at and they don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. I just let them know that, hey, I'm here, I'm available for you, and just stay in touch with them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good. Rosanna?
To elaborate on what Donna asked you and how you just started to say more about that, can you give us just some of the questions you might have asked someone, or some of the things that you spoke to that person that you called that was under your mother's organization, or would be a brick and mortar that you'd want to help switch over? Like, what are some of the ways of approaching that without sounding like you're telling them to change their whole business or their whole way of thinking?
You could approach it. I usually start with an email and I think about maybe pick one thing. And I'm going to give you an example. What we did with Phillips's group, because they have a lot of people that are used to the brick and the mortar and have been for years and years and years. So what we did is we approached it from an advantage standpoint. So what I had their secretary do is people that are coming to their office and ordering products, is I had her figure out what the difference would be if they ordered it directly, because they come every month anyway. How much money would they have accumulated in loyalty rewards if they had done it through the company? What about all those specials that they're missing out on that Shackley has available? So when we did the letter, we approached it from the avenue of, hey, we're looking at changing this, but in this case with them, what I would do is maybe start with the loyalty rewards and elaborate on that. They might not understand how that works and say, if you have a customer using $250 a month coming to your storefront versus if you have them order it direct through the loyalty at $250, this is what they're going to get. And so when they see that difference of all those loyalty points of how that's going to add up to free products, they might want to start switching their people over and then offer maybe to have a Zoom where they could come on, or what you could do is say, and if you have any questions, call me. Otherwise, I'm going to follow up with you next week. I'm going to call you to just go over everything. Start making those personal contacts with people, but only start with one thing. Because if you try to go in and change everything, it's very overwhelming.
Yes, and you approached all these people that didn't even know you. Like, let's give an example. Someone in my organization, they, I don't like, I like to say my Shackley family. I don't like to call it my downline. But anyways, level below me, they were always taking care of their people. Let's say they are no longer working Shackley anymore. They buy, but they no longer work it. So now I have to become better friends with their people, who some of them I've never seen or heard or known before. How do you, that would have been like maybe you. So how did you call them and not, so that they didn't go to someone else? Because, they all have friends and neighbors in Shackley.
I would do an email or a written letter, depending on who the person is.
Okay.
And I would just say something to the fact of, hey, I am working with such and such, that I am aiding in giving new updates on things that are coming up with Shackley. I want to be able to offer these different things to you. And I will go ahead and here's some of the things that are new and updated. I'm going to touch base with you next week. I'll call just to kind of give you an update on some of the new, use it as a way of contact to update them.
Okay.
Because I've done that with people in the past that maybe have been really good customers and then all of a sudden they stop using.
Mhm.
So I might call them or send an email first. A lot of times I send an email first because it kind of gives a forewarning, I'm going to call them.
Right.
So they're kind of expecting it. So I would just say, hey, I just want to call and give you an update on the new loyalty rewards and a way to get free products. Hey, I'll give you a call sometime early next week so that I can just share it with you and see if it's something you want more information on. It's a courtesy call. You're just offering something. Like when you go to JCPenney or you go somewhere, hey, do you have the JCPenney card? Well, no, if you do, you get such and such percentage off. That's kind of what you're doing.
That would fit me and my style of the way I usually approach people. Hannah could probably tell you, because it has to come from a place of sort of friendship, but you're not friends with them yet. You don't even know them yet.
Yeah.
You don't want to
So
lock yourself off on them,
Yeah, but do it in a capacity that you're helping her,
Mm-hmm.
that you're a team. And if they see that you're a team working together, that I would take that much better. And that's kind of how I did it with my parents, is I said, hey, I'm coming on board. My parents have been retired. They're, you know, just kind of taking it easy, enjoying life. I'm helping out. I just kind of want to offer this. And that's when I started a Monday night Zoom. Many, many Monday nights I had nobody. But it's, you got to start somewhere and kind of connect with people, offer something, maybe do once a month, say, hey, we're going to get on there and offer this, and then and find out who's interested to get that information.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. Okay, we have time for one last question. Anybody have one for Marcia? Okay, well, if not, we can all, I think maybe Scott, we can unmute just so everybody can give a big thank you, I think, right? Because you did a great job. You shared a lot from your heart. I love what you had to say about the system you've developed and how you've made it work for you. And you know, what really comes across with you over and over again is your genuineness and your willingness to just keep staying with people and keep offering them, not wasting time if they're not ready, but doing something with them and then going on and looking for the people who are ready now. So that's awesome. That's going to take you right up to presidential master, Marcia. Just keep doing that.
Eventually.
Yes, eventually. That might take some time, but that's okay. Assuming that's a goal.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give you your goals. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody. Let's just give her a real loud thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We
Thank
really
you, Marcia.
appreciate Marcia. Just came home from Hawaii and a half hour later practically is already doing this talk call for us. So thank you so
Real
much.
Thanks,
commitment.
Marcia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Good night.
I
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.